Tell us a little bit about the industry you're in and how did you get started in that industry?
Sure. So the industry I'm in, Gene, is the beauty industry. And as you know, all of us cross the path of the beauty industry in some shape, form, or manner. The beauty industry, when you mention that, most people just think about hair care. But it's hair care, it's nails, it's skin care as well. And every profession has to cross that. So if you're a doctor, you need a haircut. If you're male, if you're female, you need your hair done. But also, I tell people it's a great industry because every person born that's alive or dead, they got to cross the beauty industry. If you're having a funeral services, your loved one, they got to get the hair done. They got to get the nails done. So no matter how you look at it, you got to cross that beauty industry.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, man. You're right. When you die, you're going to be in that casket looking good.
That's right.
Male or female. And I got 4 daughters. And I'm understanding how expensive it is with women. Because it's not just your hair.
It's not
just your nails.
It's not.
It's eyelashes. It's skin care.
Yeah.
It's Botox and this and that.
Yes.
So yeah, I can see how that could be a huge business, man.
Absolutely.
Huge business.
And you said you have 4 daughters. So I have 1. I can only imagine. So that's 4. Man, that's deep. And even with the 1, talking about daughters, my daughter's now, she's getting ready to graduate from high school. And so tomorrow she's going to prom. So, she's getting the nails done tomorrow, she's getting the hair done, all of those things that you mentioned. Now, you mentioned Botox earlier. A lot of females get that. We're not going to get into that, not on my time.
Well, awesome, man. It's on you, brother. Go ahead and bless the table with the break. I know we have some mutual friends in common. Good friend, Michael, and you guys used to work at.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that experience that you had working for that company and maybe some lessons that you've taken away.
Good deal. So, yes, I worked with since 1998. So that's going to be about 24 years. But prior to working with my brother, Ivy, he worked with Michael Murray, who was at Bronner before that. So my brother Mike worked together for years with Darryl Bronner. 2 years later, my brother started a hair care company called Vision 2000. And it was a hair care product where they sold relaxer shampoos and conditioners as well. So at the time, I was working at Georgia State University moving furniture. And at the same time, this is also my first year at Clark as well. So my brother asked me for a better opportunity. He said, hey, I got an opportunity for you, a nice proposal for you. This way, if you take it, you won't have to move furniture. You can see things from a different perspective. But not only that, you can cut your own paycheck. You can travel. You can meet people. So, of course, Gene, it sounded all delightful and all great at the same time. But there was one thing that was stopping me. And that one thing, Gene, it was fear. It was fear. They said fear is false evidence appearing real. Well, I can tell you, your perception has a huge impact on your reality. And with that, although I wanted to travel, I wanted to meet new people, I wanted to write my own check, but that fear is something I had never done before. So he had been in the industry for a while, but asking me to do something I've never done, to step in a zone that I've never played in, that fear was in there. So after him asking me to do that, I waited about 6 months before I truly responded and said yes, because I didn't know how to tell him I was scared. I didn't know how to tell him that. Him being an entrepreneur for about 5 years himself and working with Bronner, I didn't know how to tell him that. So I finally muscled up the nerve to tell him, hey, I would love to do it, but I don't know how. And I think, Gene, that was probably one of the best things I could have ever said to come out of my mouth. I didn't know how. And once I told him that, then and only then we were able to start this career off in the beauty industry. So I started in '98 as a sales rep. And I got some great training from Michael Murray, who was another mentor as well, and also a mutual friend of yours, and also from Ivy at the same time. So here I am, got my training wheels on, learning, falling, failing, learning, falling, failing, and the process goes on and on and on and on. But at the same time, I don't call failure a failure. And I either say you either win or you learn. And at that time, I was learning. And so every failure, I tried to learn a lesson from it. And I got experiences from it. So with that, each day, each month, each year, I got better and better at my craft. And I remember Michael Murray going into a salon with me in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I was selling products for the first time. He grabbed the product for me. I knew the products, but the thing was going into a salon to try to sell these products, that combo, products, myself, and the salon with all the beautiful women in there, I didn't know how to put all that together and come out with a great presentation. So as we went in, Gene, we went in with the products and everything. And one thing we used to practice, Gene, was you go in and do your introduction, you do your greeting, you do your presentation, and you do your close. I knew this like the back of my hand. But of course, when you're going in and you're playing around in a fearful place, you lose everything. So I went in, got tongue twisted, I lost my thoughts at the same time. And as I was losing my thoughts talking to the young lady, Michael Mervin swiftly just moved in, as I was stumbling, came in and finished the presentation for me. But here's the lesson. Once we walked out of the salon and got into the car, he said, okay, you did? He said, you did okay. You messed up, but that's okay. Here's what you did wrong. And then he showed me what I did wrong and how to overcome that in the car before we got to the next salon.
Yeah, that's a dope story, man. Speaking of fear, we all have fear of something.
That's right.
And it is fearful and scary to get out there on your own. Whether it's starting your own business or going back to school or getting educated on something.
That's right.
Why do you think fear holds so many people back, man?
I think one of the main reasons fear holds people back, it was something that we were brought up with. I think, now when we're kids, when we're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, it seems like we're fearless. Nothing stops us. But I think we adapt this perception that because of fear, although fear is a natural reaction, it's a natural emotion, we adapt and adopt these emotions, and these emotions are transferred and translated to our brain to saying, you can't do that. So I think it's something that starts small. And speaking of that, Gene, I think the way that I kind of got out of mind over the years, my mom was a Sunday school teacher at a church with my dad as well. And my mom, by her being a Sunday school teacher, she used to give me Easter speeches, Christmas speeches, and I would have to play a character in a Christmas play. So by her giving us these speeches at a very young age, while we were young, were we scared to do these speeches in front of the entire church? Absolutely, but she pushed us until we got better and better and better. So that's where fear really took hold and took place in my life, was in church, because she was pushing me to say speeches and to play a part or a character in front of people that I did not know, and I definitely didn't want to be there, not for that. So I think with her continuing to push me, and my dad continuing to push me, it helped develop confidence while going through that process. So I think so many people just adopt that, and they play this over and over and over in their minds over the years as they are aging and getting older, and they don't do anything to undo or to untrain that behavior. They don't do anything. And that's why I tell people personal development is everything.
you always can do anything you put your mind to. And that's the way we was raised and brought up. And now that I'm an adult, in terms of me taking risk in business, I don't have some of those fears because of the way I was brought up.
That's right.
Now I look back at, some cousins and some other people, and I just start to assess stuff as an adult. And a lot of times it could be a grandparent or an uncle. Because growing up, somebody said, boy, you ain't gonna be shit when you grow up.
Yeah.
Look at you just like your daddy.
Yeah.
And that stuff gets instilled into your brain.
That's right.
So I'm thankful and I'm blessed. I had a father and a mother who always encouraged me when I was young, because when I set my mind to do something, I know it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be work, whatever, but I'm not afraid to fail. I'm afraid to try. So it does start. And it can start when you're small, because some of that stuff gets developed into your mind.
It gets stuck.
So as adults and fathers and mothers, we have to instill that into our kids. Like even now, like even my wife, like her parents are more like, don't take risks, don't do this, you're gonna get hurt. And with our older daughter, it's like they're scared to do everything.
Yeah.
But the younger daughter, we just like, go do this and go do that. So she has a different temperament about risk, because we just let her just kind of figure it out on her own. We don't tell her, we don't fear her so she don't get scared of stuff. So we're learning how to be better parents just because of our upbringing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's an awesome story. And I have that as well. And I think what was given to me and the experiences, lessons that I got, I poured that into my kids as well. And likewise, my wife as well. My wife as well, with the boys, and I have 2 boys and a girl, Gene.
Okay.
And with those 2 boys, I was the one, because I started out as an entrepreneur at a very young age, and she worked for a company for a long time. So she didn't get a chance to exercise her entrepreneurship as much as I did, because I was out there working for a company, but at the same time getting told no. But also remembering back when I was at church, mom telling me to get up there and say your Easter speech, stand up straight, do this. I was able to execute that while I was out in the field. And you mentioned that when those people around you at a very young age were telling you, you won't be able to do this, you won't amount to this. And we had people to do that at the same time. But thank God, I had some great people around me, mom, dad, brother, uncles, aunts. I had a lot of people around me. They were my crew. They were my camp. They were my staff, right? To continue to tell us that we could do any and everything that we wanted to do. So I could see how fear sticks with people, especially if you don't work on it. I always say, our mindset, I look at it as a muscle. And if we don't exercise that muscle by reading, watching podcasts, educational podcasts, and if we're not going to conferences, if we're not doing things of that nature that's going to help us long-term mentally, we're going to stay right here. Those muscles are going to stay weak. So when that thing called fear hits you, no matter if it's the fear of success, if it's the fear of public speaking, no matter what it is, the fear of being around people, the fear of being social, when that thing hits you, it's going to take you out. So you got to exercise that muscle. You got to read more. You got to continue to do those things, because you never master it.
No.
You never master it, but you do get better.
Yeah. Those are some great points. So that was actually my next question. What are some things people can do to overcome fear? But backing up a step, when you finally told made a commitment after 6 months to take the job, what did that do for you mentally?
Oh man, wow. The thing it did for me, Gene, first of all, I was really excited. I was we call it ignorance on fire in network marketing. And I've done network marketing as well, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But once I got the opportunity, it was an opportunity to have a better life, from moving furniture. And at the same time, my oldest son now, who's 30, he was 1 year old when this happened. So I wanted a better opportunity for myself, also for my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and for my 1-year-old son. So I knew working at this university, I didn't want to work there and retire there some 30, 40 years later, because I've seen people who have been there 30 and 40 years. No shade on them, but I didn't want that to be me. So when I got the opportunity to get out of there, I said yes after I got to the next level. And after I started getting the trainings, the teachings, Gene, I felt like I was becoming Superman, if you will, in a way. Not that I knew everything, because I didn't, but because I had that staff around me, I had some great mentors, some great coaches, which is what you asked me about, how did I get all those things? It was those mentors. It was those coaches. It was mom. Mom was my first mentor. My dad was my second mentor. And my mom did network marketing as well. And so having those coaches and mentors around you, man, you need them around you 24/7 if you can. But if you can't, here we are in 2024, you got podcasts, you got Google, you got AI, you can put up affirmations every day and each and every day. So first thing I would say, Gene, you got to do to help you get over those fears is to believe in yourself. That's the first thing. How do you believe in yourself, Charles? Well, one, you have to talk to yourself. You have to get in the mirror and speak to yourself. I am Charles King. I am successful. I can do anything that I put my mind to doing. I am wealthy, although you may not be wealthy right now. I am rich. You got to call those things as though they were. And call those things. Once you start speaking those things and believing those things, they start coming to you. Yep. Your job is only to believe and to speak it. Your job is not to worry about how it's going to happen. And that's where most people get stuck.
Yeah, and that's so very true, man. The power of manifesting your thoughts and actions and then believing into it, because the world is filled of abundance, and it's all energy. So whatever energy you're putting out is the same energy that you receive.
That's right.
So when you put out good energy, you just never know who God might put in your life or the next relationship. You always one relationship away from
that
next big deal, whether it's money, whether it's connections to something else.
That's right.
So putting it out there is definitely key, man. I know you was at Bar for how many years now?
24 years.
24 years. After you went into, was it entrepreneurship on your own?
Entrepreneurship. Well, I started before I left. So
okay.
Now this is a whole story in itself. So at Brown, I left Brown 4 times. Okay, and the Browns asked me to come back 4 times. Nobody has my story. We'll talk about that in another podcast.
Okay.
Get good and deep in it. But with that, becoming an entrepreneur in between those times, which was very helpful for me, because after the first time I was downsized. Okay, I'll say that. The first time I was downsized. So a lot of people say downsized, I'm gonna say fired, okay? Didn't know why, anything of that nature, but hey, you just gotta pick up the pieces and keep it moving. So after that happened, I remember saying, well, I've been working for this company for 4 years, selling all these products for all these years. I've learned some things, I've met some people, I've traveled some places. What I did, I collected all of my relationships and all of my data and all the people and all of my experiences. How can I equate these things that I've learned into my own business? So what I did, Gene, I started my own distributorship. I started selling other people's products. I started selling hair extensions, flat irons, things of this nature, because I knew a lot of vendors and manufacturers. I reached out to them and said, hey, I'm no longer here, such. I would love to do this. And they knew I had a huge following. So man, it worked out. So that was really my first taste of really being an entrepreneur without having a 9-to-5 behind me. So it was either a sink or swim, but I got out there and made it happen because look, I didn't have what my brother called, I didn't have that automatic check coming in anymore. I had to make it happen. And it turned out beautiful.
even with going out on your own the first time around, what was that experience like? Even though it turned out good, what were some of the because it's a different story when you're working for somebody else and working for yourself.
Yes, it is.
But what were some of those pitfalls and challenges, and even beyond that, some of the CEO stuff you had to think about? Because when you're working for somebody, you're plugged into a system, you're a technician.
Yeah.
But when you're on your own, you got to be the entrepreneur, the technician, the accountant, all that stuff until you get your team together. So talk a little bit about that part.
Gene, we're going to dive deep on this one. So after leaving a 9 to 5, leaving that automatic money, a check if you will, like you said, you are the president, CEO, you're the CFO, you are the account manager, you are HR, and you are the salesperson at the same time. You are one man shop. So when I left, I was excited about going to the next level. But again, fear, I think we talked about. You're thinking about all the bills you got coming up that are on automatic, right? You know, you got car insurance, you got rent, you got all of these things that are coming, no matter if you have that job or not, they coming in the next 30 days. So I had to figure it out quick. So some of the things that hit me was the fear, but I knew I didn't have a backup plan. The backup plan was me getting out there, figuring it out, and making it happen. That was the backup plan. That was my plan A. That was my plan A, and that was my plan A. So I had to get out there. So some of those pitfalls were getting out there, calling these companies, first of all, telling them, hey, I'm no longer at this company. That's where they knew me from. I'm no longer with the company, this and that. But actually, they was excited about it because they wanted to really give me all of their products and make me be like a brand ambassador, if you will, to sell their product. But, you know, of course, you got to talk about pay, commissions. You know, you got to think about all of these things. So after coming up with contracts and what I would do it for, because nothing is more valuable than our time. So I didn't want to go work for another person like that where I have to be on the clock. But at the same time, I wanted to sell products where I can make a profit and still have enough to pay bills, but all at the same time learn a new skill of trade in selling a new product. So that fear, that's one of the biggest things. And I tell people are stopped in their tracks because of fear and the lack of belief in themselves. So at this point, because I had worked for Bronner all these years and I had sold a lot of products in those 4 years when Michael Murdoch was there, we won third place in the largest year of selling registrations, which is hair show tickets, in the history of. At that time, I think Bronner had been around maybe like 57 years. But that particular year, 1999, we sold more tickets than they ever have in the entire history of the company. So we came in third. That sounded like that ain't a lot. But first place sold over $100,000 worth of tickets.
Oh, wow.
Second place sold like 93. We sold, I think, like 89,000 or something like that. And then fourth place. We weren't last, but nobody remembers second, third, and fourth. They only remember first. But I will say I still have that plaque at home doing that. So knowing what was possible, knowing that if I could do it for another company, I can do it for myself. So I took those teachings, God, family second, and business third. I took those same teachings and principles into my own, because Bronner Brothers has always said, this is a place we don't want you to retire from. We want to show you, we want to teach you how to fish versus just giving you a fish. That's the concept. Now, I ended up leaving in 2022 retired, but that's after a lot of hardship, experiences, and everything else. So if you can deal with fear, manage fear, and if you can do that and work hard, be diligent, be persistent, and resilient, you can overcome anything. So for me, those coachings, knowing that it's possible, and knowing I did not have a plan B, that was like my ticket. I had to make it happen. And I had a 1-year-old son.
Gotcha. It's on you.
Okay.
I forgot. Dope conversation, by the way. I guess you solid, I'm strike. But you said that you worked with Bronner Brothers on 4 different occasions. What made you go back to Bronner Brothers after that first go around?
That's a great
So first of all, how long? So how long were you on your own, and then what made you transition back to them?
So although I left 4 different times, and I'll start with the first question. So the first time I got let go, I was on my own for 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I was an entrepreneur for 3 years. What made me come back was asked me to come back to the company after 3 years. And of course, being an entrepreneur for 3 years, that's a lot of time. You know, it seems like 12 months is 24 months. Mm-hmm. It really does. But being out there on my own, following, learning, listening, getting trained, training, and learning how to do business. Because a lot of times you got a lot of hustlers out there, but then you got business, doing business. So I learned how to do business from at the same time. They used to give us expense checks. We had to learn how to budget. We had to learn how to forecast things of those nature. I had to equate those things into my own business. So while I was gone for 3 years, they asked me if I would come back because they needed a distribution manager. Now, I'm married as well, Gene. So of course, when I got the call asking me if I would come back after being gone 3 years, of course, the wife, she was a little hesitant about it. She wasn't as fond about me going back as I was. So, and I had to explain to her, I said, well, baby, yeah, you know, I can go do this, I can go do this, and continue to do this. And mind you, this entrepreneur business that I was doing, I wasn't like bringing the bag home, you know, but I was making it happen. I was covering my bills that I had at the time. And I had a 1-year-old, and she worked as well, so that helped. I had a support system. So, but had it just been me by myself, it would have been a lot harder. So they asked me to come back. I told her my bigger vision. I said, well, you know, working with the company, it offers a higher platform, a better platform for me to reach people. And with that, and at the same time, still get the trainers and the teachers that I need while I'm there, and being able to travel on someone else's dime while being able to better myself at the same time. So it worked in that way for me, and I'm grateful for them because I know I learned so much from them, but it's the one that hired me when I came from working with my brother. He brought me on because Michael Murray introduced me to him. So after doing that, just think about what I've learned from them over the years. I went back, not just for them, I went back for me because I just felt like I could move a lot faster in reaching the goals that I had set personally for myself. And that was one of the reasons I went back. And I don't question why I went back. I truly believe that it was divine, because for most people would just say, well, you know, I'm just gonna keep it moving. I ain't going back. I'm not doing this, they let me go. And it wasn't that they let me go, it was the person that let me go. But at the same time, I got what I needed, because when I left, that was probably one of the best decisions that the guy could have made by letting me go. And I remember telling him, hey, I appreciate the opportunity, and you really blessed me by doing that. Those were my words verbatim. But when I left and stepped out in there, it was a big world out there waiting on me. And I went out there to learn as much as I can from whom I could.
Great story, man. You talked about or mentioned this, you said support system. How important is having a support system in entrepreneurship?
Wow. Still today, Gene, even as an entrepreneur as yourself, even with your team, there's a quote that says, you alone, you are a force. But you and your team, that's a movement. You can do a lot on your own. You may know quite a bit, but you can't do everything. You can't do everything. And you should, because it'll stretch you out. That support system is everything. And I'm gonna go all the way back to your parents. Imagine being a 5-year-old boy or the young lady who's 5 years old, and you're out there in school, you wanted to run track, you want to play sports, you want to do things of this nature, but you don't have anybody in your ear to tell you, baby, you can do it. Baby, you can do it. Even when you played your first Little League baseball game or whatever, and you struck out at the bat, the only people that's in your corner and that's gonna tell you something nice after you struck out 3 times, baby, you did good. You did real good, baby. better time next time. Better luck next time. Only your parents will do that. Now the coach may be like, yeah, you missed it this time. I need you to do this. You should have did this. You should have did that. But the parents, through the good, the bad, and the ugly, they're gonna support you no matter what. So here we are in life today, in business, in whatever you're doing. You gotta have good coaching. You gotta have a good support system. I always say every coach needs a coach.